Time Park Well by Tiwa Savage featuring Davido. Some art in the musical space. Now let's celebrate some art in collaboration with the SABC and Ifa Lethu. I think that's going to be an amazing showcase and exhibition. It's going to be featuring works and artists collected during the period of exile, apartheid era, post-apartheid. So it's going to be quite a fascinating one.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's called Still We Rise, and it's going to be making its debut at the Atrium, Keys Art Mile in Johannesburg from the 30th of October and will be running until the 23rd of November. So it's actually on as we speak. All right. This is an exhibition that coincides with the G20 Summit, offering an opportunity to share the resilience, courage, and creativity of South African artists. Let's talk about it. Dr. Narissa Ramdhani is joining us in their capacity as director of the Ifa Lethu Foundation. Dr. Narissa, thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to Channel Africa.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much for the time. Let's talk about this. Very significant when we look at the space of art and creativity, not only for storytelling, but also for the preservation of history. Let's talk about the significance of repatriating these artworks. You know, what were you considering in terms of creating space for apartheid art to come alive at this particular time?
You know, I think we've got to go back to why we started this project in the first place. You know, we were approached by Australian diplomats who were posted here in the apartheid era with a view to donating artwork that they had purchased during that time in the 60s and 70s. Now, if it wasn't for them, we would not have realized that such creativity existed in South Africa. Because after all, you know, the apartheid government led us to believe that as Africans, we had no artistic skills. And so, you know, finding that art at that point through this donation has been a wonderful, wonderful journey. And also for those artists, remember, who created this art, it left the country and it returned in 2005. So it was a very poignant event for them to see their artworks return. As it was now, when we opened the exhibition, there were artists here whose art is on exhibition, and we're part of this repatriation. And remember, repatriating this artwork allows us to tell a story through the eyes of these artists who were silenced at home, but found recognition abroad. And, you know, I think also we have to thank you know, these diplomats, because they were visionaries. They saw the value of this art. They purchased it and decided to return it to a free South Africa, you know, without us having to pay for a penny for them. And today we have repatriated over 700 pieces from 16 countries. And what it shows is the collaboration of the world during apartheid. And, you know, the global scene was such that they collected our art with a view to giving it back to us, and in so doing, preserve our artistic heritage and showcase the skills of these artists. So I think, you know, that's the value. So, and I think now, as we welcome the world to Johannesburg for the G20, we want visitors to understand South Africa beyond the headlines that they always see. Because these works remind us of the resilience of our artists, their determination to rise above adversity, and their refusal to be silenced. So, you know, that's the value of repatriation. So this is a very, very powerful exhibition that we've put up, taking these two collections, one that's been repatriated and another from the SABC that was purchased by them over the years. So it brings together these two collections with a view to showcasing to heads of state and their delegations what artistic skill resides in our country.
Still We Rise. This is a brand new exhibition from the Ifa Lethu Foundation in collaboration with the SABC Art Collection. And we'll continue our conversation with Dr. Narissa right after this.
Africa. It's time to plug into the heartbeat of the continent. Tune in to Channel Africa, your go-to radio station that broadcasts in 5 different languages.
L'Afrique du Sud célèbre la journée nationale du
Kabla hujaitwa kwa jina la double K or more of our forests have been destroyed.
Tamo kwaduli bwanji ndi Partido Africano da Independência da Guiné.
See, Channel Africa represents every corner of this amazing land. From Lagos to Cape Town, Nairobi to Dakar, we've got you covered with the freshest news, music, and cultures. So, turn up the volume, feel the rhythm. And join the conversation. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Channel Africa.
Your Africa, your voice, your channel. Channel Africa.
The African perspective.
The Upside with Tebogo Lekhuleni and Mosito, bringing Africa's voices to the world. On Channel Africa, the African perspective.
We're joined on the line by Dr. Narissa Ramdhani, director of the Ifa Lethu Foundation, to reflect on how art became a voice of protest and continues to serve as a mirror for our national consciousness. They've repatriated some artwork during the Apartheid era, and exhibition that is titled Still We Rise. It's currently on in collaboration between the Ifa Lethu Foundation and the SABC Art Collection. Dr. Narissa, let's talk about the curation of these works. You had mentioned that some of them have been donated from the SABC, but let's talk about some of the other work that has been repatriated, especially during the exile period, and some of the stories that you can share from those artists who were sharing their artwork globally, but not necessarily being appreciated here in South Africa.
Okay, let me just clarify. The SABC did not donate artwork to us. They've loaned us their selected artworks from their collection to be exhibited. But, you know, it's, as I said, it was a journey. Ifa Lethu is now 20 years old. We were born in November of 2005, 2005. And we have now kicked off our 20-year celebrations for the next year to celebrate everything we've done. But, you know, when you look at art being created at this time, before I talk about the artists, I think it's also important to state that it was created during the time of the cultural boycott. And our artists were not exposed to international art.
Okay.
So what they had done is that they created their own style. So it's the repatriated art or the struggle era art has a distinct style. And it was created to showcase the fact that there was life in the townships. In spite of the adversity, this is what the townships were like. It was vibrant in spite of the oppression. And I think also you have to remember that cultural heritage was employed as a weapon by all sides during the apartheid years, as a weapon of oppression by the state, as a weapon of resistance by the liberation movements. And today, Ifa Lethu uses it as a weapon to empower people and to build that bridge for cultural heritage, to break down cultural values, and to teach young South Africans how to transcend adversity and heal the nation. And having said that, if you look at the artists, this is what they were doing, you know, giving us a glimpse of life in the townships in that time, not realizing that this glimpse would travel through the world. And can you imagine the emotions when this artwork, when they saw it back in the country again? Now, there was one of the Australian diplomats who told us an interesting story. How is it that these artworks were bought by diplomats? She used to host cocktail parties in her apartment in Pretoria. And on Saturday afternoon, she used to invite other diplomats who were in the country at the time, and she used to invite artists to sell their artworks to these diplomats. And she courted arrest because here was a white woman inviting white people and black artists into her apartment. So fortunately, she evaded arrest because she of diplomatic immunity. And so, when artists hear this, and can you imagine them having seen their art come back? And, they were art which was done by people like Tami Mnyele, who was shot by security police in Swaziland. Then you've got art pieces done by Dumeli Feni, Gerard Sekoto. And actually now, when we opened the exhibition, it was opened by Dikobe Benedict Martins, as you know, who was incarcerated in Robben Island. He held, after 1994, he held many ministerial positions, but continues to support and be involved in art. And so, having him really open this exhibition was very important because, as you know, exhibitions are a dialogue between the artist and the piece of art. So we were privileged to have that conversation opened for us by a voice of extraordinary clarity and vision through his art, which features in the exhibition. So he lends a particular perspective to a global dialogue. Now, this reminds us that art is not merely an accessory to diplomacy, but it's a fundamental language of human connection. So that's what makes this exhibition so powerful. There are so many stories around it, and so much went into locating these pieces all over the world and bringing them back and showing them to South Africa, because our exhibitions have always been premier exhibitions for premier milestones. They were exhibited for the 2010 Soccer World Cup. 24,000 visitors viewed them. It was exhibited for the 20 year of democracy, the 30 years of democracy. It was exhibited at the Lord Mayor's Mansion in London for the 20 years of democracy. It was exhibited in London at the invitation of the Prime Minister of the UK for the 2012 Olympic Games.
Dr.
So
Narissa?
we brought them back, but we still take them throughout the world.
Dr. Narissa, thank you so much. I think in the interest of time, we've just got one more question, if we could keep it pithy.
Sure.
Let's talk about, I think also it's important for us to acknowledge the current time that we're in and the significance of this work in the now, because we mentioned in our introduction before we spoke to you that this is an exhibition that coincides with the G20 Summit. So in your field of work as an academic in politics, in international relations, matters of heritage and culture, and creativity and the development thereof. Let's talk about the significance of the work now very quickly, Doc, and also how it coincides with the G20, as it were.
Still We Rise recognizes the collective spirit of resistance, solidarity, and shared survival. Now, in the current world context of rising authoritarianism, systematic inequality, environmental devastation, these artworks are more than an archival honoring. They speak to us as we face our own struggles, and they remind us of the courage it takes to express ourselves truly, and the power of art as a mode of soul connection, healing, internationalism, and vital solidarity. So I think that's why having it now was so important to us. And remember, we live in a modern world. We are interconnected and we are impacted by events thousands of miles away. And, we witness war and suffering in all parts of the world.
Right.
And therefore, this collection,
Okay.
assists in that.
Okay, this has been so wonderful, and I feel like we need another round table with you, Dr. Narissa. Thank you so much for the time. Just make sure that you catch Still We Rise. It is currently showing at the Atrium, Keys Art Mile, and it runs until the 23rd of this month. That's November 2025. Dr. Narissa Ramdhani joining us in her capacity as Director of Ifa Lethu Foundation. 2:31, let's cross to the sports desk with Fikile Lengwadi.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Now, sports update. Let's begin with netball news. The Spar Proteas held a successful netball clinic in South Africa's Mbombela in Mpumalanga, where the players reached out to young netball players in the region. Over 200 young learners from schools around the Greater Mbombela area attended the clinic and were thrilled to meet their heroes, who recently returned from a tour of New Zealand and Australia. The Spar Proteas players included Mpumalanga province-based captain Khanyisa Chawani, who's delighted with the initiative.
The clinic was amazing. Loved every moment of it. Even the kids that were there, you could see from them that they were willing to learn. They were open to doing everything that we were really teaching them. So this was an amazing initiative from SPAR to really give us an opportunity to come to a place like Mbombela, where they didn't even really expect Proteas and the Proteas coach to be in their vicinity, and us being here, you could already see how excited they were. I enjoyed every moment, and it was really a success.
On to rugby news. The reigning World Cup champions South Africa are gearing up for a French team still hurting from the 2023 Rugby World Cup quarter-final defeat in Paris. The Springboks started their 5-test tour of Europe with an emphatic victory over Japan in London last weekend. But the three colors of France, who desperately want revenge following their 1-point defeat at the Stade de France in 2023, will pose a much bigger threat on Saturday. And box number 8, Jasper Wiese, says they'll have to duplicate that attitude and physicality in Paris on Saturday against a French side still hurting from the 2023 World Cup loss.
France have made a statement in the last couple of years with their physicality and how big they are. So I think Saturday is definitely going to be the same again. Two big packs colliding against each other, and I think we're looking forward to the challenge. We analysed them all this week, and like you said, the French have a big team, and I think that's definitely going to be the where it comes down to the both of the forwards packs, just who's going to get dominated or who's going to dominate.